In this video, I'm going to tell you how to navigate or survive 9 unhealthy personality type behaviors based on the Enneagram during the holidays. And if you don't know about the Enneagram types, don't worry. I will describe each situation or behavior so you will know who I'm talking about. So keep watching. Hey, welcome to Typevolution, where we talk all about personality type theory and how to evolve, how to develop ourselves. If it goes into the more toxic, destructive, really, really bad kind of territory, then I would actually advise you to avoid the gathering altogether. Nowadays, people can get away with that. They can just excuse themselves. If you have to come up with some kind of excuse, or just don't attend, because there's certain limits. And I'm not going to give you the worst examples possible because, yeah, what's the point? Like, I would just tell you don't go at all. But if the people you are going to are just somewhat problematic or somewhat difficult to deal with sometimes, then continue. And actually, in this video, I will give you both the solution for what to do with them, but also the solution for if that's you. If you are one of those people who actually exhibit a bit of a problematic behavior based on your personality type, your Enneagram type. Okay, so with type 5, which I call the Analyst, they are not really engaging that much. They're not really trying to get any attention like some other types, or they're not really causing anything or whatever. But I guess similar to the 9 a little bit, with 5, what happens is they tend to kind of blend into the background and basically not participate much at all, unless some kind of favorite niche subject or topic or interest or activity comes up. Now, I'm not saying that they will not show up at all. I mean, some of them might not even show up, but even if they're there, they are not necessarily emotionally engaging with what's going on. They might try, so it really depends on how unhealthy the 5 is, and also what their Jungian type is, if they're like, let's say, an INTP or INTJ, which in my opinion are the only types for 5. The INTP tries to join in with the fun more, with the good vibes, because of the extrovert feeling varying. But yeah, it depends. Either way, they might not just be that engaged, like they might just be kind of turned off mentally, I guess, or emotionally. So they might seem to mirror the type 9's behavior, because the 9's zoning out can seem very similar to the type's 5 lack of engagement. With type 9, the zoning out has a bit of a different background. The zoning out is a protective mechanism. It's usually to protect yourself from, let's say, negative feelings, to blend things out, to zone things out, to keep up the positivity within you, or the energy within you. Versus the type 5 is not necessarily zoning out. They can be very focused on what's going on. They can be, maybe that contradicts myself a bit, but they can be mentally like listening, etc., but not engaged. So they might not talk enough. They might just be very much of an observer, right? Now, if you are dealing with this kind of person, the easiest way to get them out of this disengagement or this disengaging behavior is, of course, ask them about their favorite subject, ask them about their favorite theories or their niche interests, what they're studying, what they are really mentally engaged in at the moment. Then, of course, that will bring out the 5 more. That's like the easiest way. I don't think it's always the best, but I'm just gonna go with it because it's the easiest. Now, if you are the type 5, then maybe it's a little bit similar to the 4, where it's about gratitude. It's a bit less about gratitude, but it's on a similar spectrum of basically acknowledging that you can learn from everyone and from everything. That you can observe or notice or learn from everything you're around in every situation. So even if you are in some kind of holiday gathering situation, you can just appreciate the fact that there's something to learn, something to observe, and in that manner to be a bit more investigative and also ask questions and try to get to the bottom of things without going too far, of course, without being too obnoxious. Now connected to this is the next type, which I call the troubleshooter, which is the 6. And people often mistake these types for one another. They can be similar. But yeah, with the troubleshooter, what I notice, the stereotypical bad in quotation marks behavior, is that they bring up topics that are controversial, like religion, politics, conspiracy theories, and they want to discuss them at the dinner table. If they're a bit more rebellious, they will try to create a little bit of an argument, maybe even, or like a discussion about, like, like I said, politics, religion, etc. Trying to see what people believe and etc. What if they can trust them, or what they think about things, and etc. etc. So they might kind of be poking in that way. If they're a bit more counterphobic, if they're a bit more rebellious, if they're more phobic, then they might also just talk about the conspiracy theories, or how everything is going wrong in the world, and how everything is scary and apocalyptic, and basically giving like bad vibes because they are focusing on things that scare them, essentially, right? Like that are anxiety inducing. They might really focus on, I don't know, how bad AI is, and they might fear monger a little bit and basically get everyone's vibe down by doing this. Now, other types might also bring up religion and things like that, right? 5s might do that, 7s, 8s, and I'm going to talk about these later as well. But yeah, with the 6, it's more about like trying to see where your loyalties lie, trying to see what kind of information can be trusted, what kind of information you trust, etc. You can just give them some kind of polite answer, you can just nod, you can slightly acknowledge it, but basically it's probably best to just change the subject, because the more you go into it, the more it's gonna stir the fire, right? So it's better to kind of coast around it, let's say, and try to focus on some other things more. Maybe it's good if you focus more on like having fun, right? Maybe the situation is a bit boring right now, so maybe you make it a bit more fun, or you try to make the other person feel a bit more comfortable. It depends a bit on the situation, because usually people are triggered by something, and then that brings up all the negativity or unhealthy stuff, right? Okay, and if you are that kind of person, leave your concerns, anxieties at the door, and try to focus more on vibing and on the moment and having fun. And if doing that is too difficult, then you have to ask yourself, the kinds of people you're hanging out with, do you actually trust them? Do you actually feel comfortable with them? Do you feel at ease with them? Or do they make you very anxious? Do they make you very uncomfortable? And then go from there, like if you feel unsafe essentially with these kinds of people, and you try to poke them and basically poke holes, I don't know, in how trustworthy they are, right? Like also what 6s might do, they might want to point out how someone is lying. If you don't feel comfortable, if you don't feel safe, if you cannot trust them, then maybe you don't even want to go to that gathering at all. Once again, go back to my disclaimers earlier. If something is too off or too unhealthy or too toxic, then just don't go at all. Because it's better for you and it's better for them, because you're not going to ruin their vibes, okay? But other than that, just try to focus on having fun, and just try to focus on the fact, once again, you can be grateful that you are in this situation to begin with. And just leave all that anxiety stuff at the door for now. Caveat, unless you have friends or people who enjoy talking about these things, then go ahead. But generally speaking, as far as I know, people don't want to always talk about these kinds of things. It can be too much, and it can ruin the vibe too much. So, okay, 7, type 7, the monkey mind. If they are actually there and not like skipping out on it, they might make very inappropriate jokes, or they might just bring some kind of chaos. They might just be too late, or bring something that is kind of inappropriate, or that people didn't ask for, or just sort of create some kind of ruckus in a sort of chaotic way. Like imagine the Joker, right? Like what the Joker would do, minus the homicidal aspect, right? Like minus killing people. Like what would the Joker do? Like just being a bit of a rambunctious kind of person and creating a bit of instability and a bit of chaos in the situation. So if that is someone you're dealing with, once again, you can just try to set boundaries around it. Just tell them, please don't do that, etc. Or you can laugh it off. That might also be a good option, especially if it's inappropriate jokes, but it depends how inappropriate they are, right? Like how much they go below the belt, let's say. If it's just slightly inappropriate, then maybe laughing it off is the best option. If it goes way too far, then you might want to have to set a boundary and say, by the way, I don't appreciate that. So let's talk about something else. Oh yeah, you can just change the subject. And perhaps what's happening also that the 7 is just not stimulated enough, in the sense that it's too boring. It's not, nothing is happening. It's people are just sitting around. So maybe you want to make sure that there's some kind of enrichment, either mentally, maybe, I don't know, some game, something that makes them a bit more occupied mentally, and or some kind of physical activity. And if you are the 7, basically the same, but a bit different, I guess, you try to bring the fun. Because if you bring in chaos, etc., it can mean that you're just too bored and you have to shake things up. But bringing chaos or making inappropriate jokes to have some fun is destructive in a way. So you want to do it in a more constructive way. And the way you can do it is by ensuring that there's going to be more enrichment for you and for the people involved. Now, if you are the host, it's going to be a bit easier to organize that, to manage that, to make sure there is the enrichment you need to have the fun. But other than that, you can just maybe bring some fun gifts or, I don't know, some fun foods or music. Earlier on, before everything happens, whilst the host is still organizing things, you can maybe subtly try to influence the host a bit and maybe give them some suggestions for activities you could do or things you could talk about, etc. So you're not going to be so bored. I guess similar to the earlier points, if it gets to the point where you're so bored that you just cannot help yourself and just be a menace, then just leave. Then just have some kind of excuse, oh, I have something to do, or etc. Just then leave earlier, because it doesn't help anyone if you make everything too chaotic and too crazy in that way. Alright, so if you have been watching this whole way and you're still wondering what you could do, I would encourage you to check out my course. And it's about managing your emotions based on your personality, and it also includes tips on how to deal with people, tips on how to make yourself feel more fulfilled based on your Enneagram, how to act, etc, etc. So it's very Enneagram centric, and I think it would be great. If this kind of stuff interests you, you should check out the course. Link is in the description box. Alright, I hope this is like a survival guide for you for the holidays. I really would have wished to have that information years ago. So I hope this is going to help you this year. And let me know what kind of people you tend to deal with during the holidays and how you're going to deal with them now, this time around. Alright, I hope, like I said, you have good holidays, and see you next time. Bye!